Hello, welcome back. My name is Matthias. Welcome back to the channel where you are hopefully going to learn how to live life as a game and find all the motivation that you have to play games transferred over to the motivation to live life and live it well. So, welcome. This is part 2 of the Road of Escapism video. In this part, you will learn how to fix it, how to fix the problems that were mentioned, where you start out with a destiny that you have when you're young. You are put down, not just your ideas, what you want to do, but you yourself, you are put down and told that you are unworthy, you are invalidated, that you are worthless or just worth less, and it hits your soul, hits who you are. And so you develop a taskmaster that says, well, you need to be better by doing better. And then that taskmaster grows and grows and grows, and it's fed by not only the people around you, but everything you see in the world on the internet, all the heights of achievement that people can get. And it says, well, you need to be that in order to not feel so ashamed at being so lesser, so, worthless. You need to, do all this cool stuff, and you eventually just have to be perfect. That's what leads to perfectionism. Perfectionism easily leads to procrastination. They are almost one and the same. If you have to be perfect, then you end up just not doing anything so that you don't fail. Or you set the bar so low that everything you do is, an automatic success, but then you just feel terrible because you're not really living life. And so when you're in that state, when you're in that state of procrastination, feeling terrible about yourself, you in your core, you just feel bad. You just feel like you are bad. And so you try to be perfect, but you can't be. So you end up procrastinating. All of that says, well, I am bad, and I should be perfect. And I technically know how to, because I've seen all the YouTube videos about how to, but I just can't do it yet. Oh well, I'll just play Skyrim to numb the pain. And then you feel absolutely terrible about yourself, and that's pretty much where you are now. How to fix all of that. 2.5 minute intro done. How to fix it. First, number 1, you realize your inherent self-worth. You realize that wound number 1, back when you were a kid, we heal that wound number 1, and then we can heal each successive wound. You realize that you are made, if you're a man, you are made in the image of God, or in the image of man if you are a woman. And God, who is all-powerful and possesses everything, finds you valuable enough to desire you. If such a thing can be said about God that he desires you to be with him in heaven. He desires you to be saved and to spend eternity with him. He wants to spend eternity with you. He actually wants you and thinks that it would be a good thing to have you spend eternity with him, for him to spend eternity with you. I already said that. You realize you are worth way more than any earthly failing could reduce you to, and no matter what sins you commit on this earth, you will always be desired by God to be with him. You will always be considered worthy of the calling to be with him. You realize your destiny, who you're meant to be in the end, is deity, is God. You will gain his nature and you will be God by nature. Adopted, but still you will become deity, become a God. And you are a little God on earth, or a little God in the making, rather. You're not quite God yet. If you're a Christian, you have a down payment, the Spirit, but neither here nor there. This is your destiny, and that is who you are. And if no earthly sin, which is a bad thing, can reduce your inherent worth from that point, then certainly no failing to achieve some worldly success could possibly do it. So you don't need to be afraid of, not working out and not keeping up with all of these, habits and all the self-improvement stuff. The perfectionism that your taskmaster says, you need to do this in order to be worthy. When you realize that you are just inherently worthy, that God loves you and wants you and values you, it's like, oh, look, here's someone I want in heaven with me forever. Wow, God desires you? He has everything. And he desires me? Wow. My inherent self-worth is not going to be damaged by, not taking cold showers and not working out. That stuff isn't going to damage my inherent self-worth. I will no longer feel shame for not doing these things and being good enough in the eyes of the world or whoever put me down in the first place. I can never be less. I can never be any less than valuable to God. Like some gem. It's like, wow, I'm never less than a gem. I'm always that valuable, like something that God values, like a soul gem. That's funny. A gem, like my soul is a gem to God. Wow, all this other stuff just doesn't matter. I don't need to feel shame for that anymore. Thank you, Taskmaster. You served me. At least you tried. You tried to protect me from shame. But guess what? My shame is gone. I have replaced it with inherent worth and dignity. So you may go on permanent vacation. You are no longer needed. That's how you get rid of your Taskmaster. Yeah. You don't need your Taskmaster to protect you from shame if you, at your core, can never be ashamed. You are worthy. That can never be taken away, because your humanity can never be taken away. You will always be desirable and valuable to God. Next, on our step, taking the steps to play the game of life, turn life into a game. After you get that, you realize that you are worthy to play the game, and who you are is just automatically good enough. That you don't need to do something to be good enough, you are good enough. And now any extra goodness you add just adds on top, but it can never go below a certain point. And that certain point is pretty gosh darn high to be valuable to God, desirable to Him. He has everything, and He still wants you. That's pretty cool. All right, so next thing you do is you write your narrative. You take self-authoring, the Jordan Peterson self-authoring program, specifically your future authoring. Go ahead and do the past and the present. Those are absolutely good to do, and you should do them. But for me, I wasn't really motivated to do them. I kept feeling called to do the future authoring, and when I did it, it changed stuff. I was like, okay, I knew I should have done this. So just, you give yourself a heaven to run toward and a hell to run from. So you say, here's what my life would look like if I, did all the things that I want to do. And here's what my life would look like if I didn't. If I remained a couch potato, overweight, eating, synthetic wheat, and eventually just dying of, multiple heart attacks. You say, well, I definitely don't want that. Like, you're honest with yourself. This is what my life is if I keep doing this. And this is what my life is if I do the things I actually want. You give yourself option A and B, and you're like, well, I'm definitely choosing option A. So, the narrative has to have a strong emotion attached to it, a strong love or hatred. Emotion motivates you, so choose as your purpose that which calls to your heart the strongest. So if you have multiple, pursuits or purposes or desires, goals, pick the one or ones that have the strongest emotion. For me, it's to help children. That's where my emotion is. I love children. I love them. I have an idea about, I want to work out. Yeah, I like working out. I want to get some money. Sure, I'd like to get some money. Hint, hint, Patreon money, please. It's like, I want to learn languages. Yeah, I want to learn languages. I think it'd be really cool to learn some languages. But there aren't strong emotions attached with that. That's kind of a mental thing, like, these would be good for you. But what does your emotion say? And you can also take those hobbies and stuff and translate. You can take the emotion, whatever your strongest emotion is. For me, it's for kids, to help kids. You take that and you can put it onto those if you weave it correctly. Like learning languages. Tried to learn Spanish so many times and just never felt motivated enough. Let me turn that off. Until I realized, wait a minute, why do I want to learn languages? I want to learn languages like Spanish so I can go to a Spanish-speaking country and help the kids there. That's why. It's not just me just collecting this, look, I can speak Spanish. Can you? I mean, that's just a pride thing. I've collected this ability. Look, I have an ebony sword. It's like, how about you want to use it for something? And so when I attach love, my personal love, to that habit, now I feel motivated to do that habit because it will further my goal of loving. And same thing with something like hate. If you hate some evil in the world, then you can, and there's some sort of habit which you can do, there's some sort of self-improvement thing that you can do that will counteract that bad thing that you hate, then you can feel motivated to do that self-improvement thing because it will, attack that bad thing that you hate. Man, this might be a long video. We're going on and on and on. Perhaps I should actually have a real script one day so that, a 5-minute video doesn't turn into 20. Double speed, by the way. Watch things on double speed. It's great. Right, we're just going to read what's written in front of me. Hope you don't mind. Actually, hoping is just... All right, neither here nor there. Emotion motivates you. Choose as your purpose that purpose which calls to... Sorry. Emotion motivates you, so choose as your purpose that which calls to your heart the strongest. Allow your inner child to speak. Allow your earlier life's purpose, the one that was, shattered, allow that, the one which was stifled and ignored, to come to the surface once again. And accept it and write it into your life as your main purpose and goal. Be fully you, be you, and no longer be ashamed to be you. Whatever desires you have, whatever innate heart motive, especially from childhood, it's my belief that God put that in you. He made you, and He made your mind and your heart. So I'm not saying every single thing that you have ever desired is a good thing, but that, your core desire, that one that you had as a kid, I think that God put in you and wants you to follow. That is your purpose and life destiny. So you do not need to alter it or think that it's immature or childish. That's a big thing that people say, oh, that's immature, that's childish. It's not. If it is you and came from you, then it is the blueprints of your destiny imprinted on your soul. It is appropriate. If that is true, then it is appropriate. It is mature and adult and what you're supposed to do. And you should not reject it, but accept it. Next, the hero's journey. Essentially, go through Slave. If you don't know what that is, go watch the Turning Life into a Game series. Seven videos. Go through Slave. It's essentially like a really big dopamine detox, but it's way more useful and important than that because it changes your mindset. Slave is all about humility. It's about changing your mind to be a servant and not be prideful and not be, oh, I'm so special, I'm so hot, I'm so whatever. Pride is usually this second defense mechanism where the taskmaster is like, oh, you have to be perfect. And anytime you're ashamed, it's like, okay, because we feel so much shame, just artificially just numb it. We just put pride over the shame so that we just don't feel the shame because we're just too prideful to feel that shame. So it's like, first we have to be perfect. And then we just have all this pride. And one of these two is going to help us not feel the shame, right? And usually we mash them together and we mix perfectionism with pride. And both of those are just to hide the shame. If you hide the shame, or if you get rid of the shame completely by accepting your inherent self-worth, you don't need perfectionism and you don't need bloody... the other one. Pride. Yes, perfectionism and pride. You don't need them. Thank you. All right, go through Slave. Go through the 6 stages. Something else we'll have to talk about later. Visualize your goal. Dress the part. Change your environment to look the part. Form a party that also dress and look the part. Speak the narrative and let them speak yours back to you. Speak theirs to them as well. Collect all your self-improvement so that you may express it in meaningful ways that fulfill your purpose. All right, next. The metagame. Learn the rules of the metagame. That is what the game of life is called, the metagame. It is the game above every other game you can play on Earth. It is the big game. Get good at role-playing and at rolling dice. Role-playing is essentially what we've been talking about. You look the part, you dress the part, you act the part, you think the part, you talk the part. You pretend to be your ideal self until you become them. And guess what? It's not really pretending. Because all the time, every day, you are pretending to be you, currently. Who you are? Is that who you really are? Well, no. You say, oh, I'm so unfulfilled. This isn't my purpose. This isn't my destiny. I'm just, eating potato chips all day. This isn't who I'm supposed to be. Guess what? You're role-playing a lazy bum who's just sitting on his couch, playing video games, eating potato chips. That's who you're role-playing. You're pretending. When you finally choose to act like your destiny, even though in the past you haven't been, and you may, be wearing the extra 40 pounds of this person you've been role-playing for years. Even though that's your past, that's not your present unless you want it to be. Your present can be whatever you want. So currently, you say, okay, I'm no longer that person. I am my new identity. Really, the old identity of being a kid, what I wanted to be and do back then, I'm going to be that. And that is who I am now. So you choose that. You choose to be that. You role-play him. You role-play him completely. Environment, clothing, words, everything. First, you role-play a slave to kind of clean the slate and get rid of everything. You are nothing, you have nothing, you're a slave. Just like Hero's Journey in Skyrim, you start out, hands bound and, in a dark dungeon. That's why all the Elder Scrolls games start you out as a prisoner. It's essential to the hero's journey. You have to start out nothing. Like Luke Skywalker, he's just a moisture farmer. Then he gets attacked. He's a nothing. You start that. You have to do it. You have to go through slave. It's really tough, but you have to do it. And then you roleplay who you actually want to be. And there's a lot that goes into it. There are the archetypes and the pillars, and this is a lot. This is really big. These are just a couple introductory videos, but there is so much more to playing the metagame, and it's so cool because you see how everything in life connects. Like the 4 elements, the 4 seasons, the 4 archetypes of the King, Warrior, Lover, Warrior, King, Arcanist. Yes, the names are slightly changed for me because I wanted to change the names. I didn't like Magician. I like Arcanist because it's more specific. It matters better. It's better. You see how all of those connect, and then the 3 pillars are like there, and then you have your 6 stages of life as you go. It actually is 6 stages of life, but they're called the 6 stages of man, where you go through and you roleplay each of the archetypes, and you take each of the pillars and you apply them, and it's through this revolving cycle, like every week, every month, every quarter, and then every year as you go through. It's like playing the game of life. Like what you've learned so far will get you pretty far. That's cool. But if you've ever played D&D, you know that there are different dungeon masters, and they have their different worlds, and some worlds are really cool and you really want to play them. Other worlds, not so much. And it's all D&D. You're all playing a game, right? But there's some worlds which really motivate you, and really, you're like, I like this world. I want to play this game so much more. That's what I have. That's what I'm designing, is not just the metagame, but my personal game setting, my personal version. Like, you can play any number of video games, a whole bunch of fantasy RPGs, but there are some which you like better. You may say, oh, I like the world of the Elder Scrolls. I like Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. These are really cool. There's something about them. There's the geography and the way magic works, and the Emperor, and how dragons are, and shouts. Like, I like these specific elements. You can play something like what's another fantasy RPG? Two Worlds. Man, that was quite the experience to play. You can play Two Worlds and be like, oh, I'm having fun. I'm playing a game, right? But it's not as good as it could be. So that's why you go to this channel, is that you already have a lot of what it takes right now to start living life. If you watch the other series, you're like, okay, I find a party member, I do the self-authoring, and I get rid of my taskmaster, all that stuff. You can do that pretty easily. Like, yay, now you're playing the metagame. But if you want to play a version of the metagame, like if you want to play, you can play a video game, but you can play a specific video game in a specific series that you like a lot. It's really fun. Or you can play D&D, but you can also play under a specific DM, Dungeon Master, who has a specific world that you like a lot. He has his own homebrew rules, and you're like, I love this campaign, this story, this is great. Likewise, you can play the metagame, but you can play my metagame with the archetypes and the pillars and everything integrated into it, and it's so motivating, so amazingly motivating and fun, and you just want to play it because it's just so cool in real life. And one of the reasons I know how to do this is because I'm actually a dungeon master, and I have this giant world, and like studying D&D, like I played Elder Scrolls video games for years, like a decade or more, and then I started playing D&D. I started combining the two, and the whole time I've been working on self-improvement and turning life into a game. And when I got both of these experiences and put them together, it's like, oh, now I really understand life as a game. I understand the metagame so much better because of my experience playing these games. I'm a dungeon master for big D&D world. It's an awesome world, but I can look at that and say, this is just an analogy of how I design the metagame. So if you want a really cool metagame, Like, really cool. Awesome. Then stick around and keep watching because there's so much that goes into this. But we're not done with this video, as you can see by the time. We still have a bit more. There are 2 steps left on this journey that we've been talking about. Well, I just barely mentioned the metagame, so barely mentioned, yeah. So we're going to keep going that 3 steps essentially. So you start to play the metagame. You learn the rules, which I can tell you, and you can learn my homebrew rules, like my own personal setting. You get good at role playing, which is what we talked about earlier, and you get good at rolling dice. If you have ever played a tabletop RPG like D&D, you know that when you say, all right, Dungeon Master, I walk up to the orc and I attack him. Well, you don't just automatically attack him. The Dungeon Master says, roll a die, and so you roll it, and if you get high enough, then you attack him, right? If you get too low, you miss and you don't attack, and you just swing your axe and miss, and it's like, okay, well, now it's the orc's turn. So in real life, you actually get to decide how high you roll. You decide which numbers you get on the roll by how much effort and determination you put into it. Someone like David Goggins is rolling 19s and 20s on his D20, a dice with 20 sides. He's getting 18, 19, 20 all the time because he decides to. He decides to put in the effort. So that is learning to play the metagame. 2 more. The next one is get good at gameplay. You just keep plugging along. This is the step where you use all of your self-improvement strategies that you've been learning on YouTube for years. This is where they all come into play. Now that you know your metagame and your purpose, you lost your taskmaster and your perfectionism, and you're willing to just go along and fail. And it's not failing, it's just like starting at level 1. When you're level 1 and you look at everyone else who either is level 20, pretending to be level 20, or tells you should be level 20, well then you have no motivation to do anything, and you feel like every step you take is a failure because it's not something that a level 20 character would do. When you realize that you're level 1 and that's okay, then you can just play level 1 and be like, oh wow, I'm not bad, I'm doing okay for level 1. So when you are not running 5 miles a day, you're not failing. You're just doing something level 1 would do. You're running around the block, if you can even do that. So you get good at gameplay. You keep just persevering. Keep plugging along. This is where the grind comes in. You gain new skills, like in a game. You level up in real life, like in a game. You meet new people, gain new abilities, new weapons and spells, which in later videos we'll get to that. What the analogy of what a weapon is in Skyrim and what it is in real life, what a spell is in a game and what it is in real life. It's really cool. We'll get to that. You explore new locations and lands and concepts. You gain new party members and let others move on. Be willing to sacrifice for the greater good. That's what makes you a hero. Always be aiming up. Climb the next mountain. Remember, not an unclimbable mountain, but climb the next one and the next one and the next one. Keep going. Keep your heaven and hell narratives in front of you. Your self-authoring stuff, like this is what I want to avoid, this is what I'm going towards. You can update them as you go and be like, oh wow, I thought my destiny was something cool, but now I realize, wait, it's better, way better than I thought. Oh, it's just getting better all the time. Opportunities multiply as they are seized. So you're like, wow, why wasn't I doing this when I was 13? Why did I wait till I was 26? It's like, well, it doesn't matter. You're doing it now. How old was the Dragonborn when he crossed the border and found out his destiny? Like, it doesn't matter. As soon as he found his destiny, he's doing it. He's not looking in the past and being like, oh, if only I had done this earlier. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just do it now. Now is the only time that you have any control over. All right. Keep your identity in front of you, who you are, because your identity coupled with your life narrative together, like here's your ultimate life narrative, and you are the person to fulfill that narrative. You are the protagonist. Both of those together, keeping that in front of you at all times, that is going to motivate you and keep you going. You are the person, identity, that will fulfill his destiny, which is the narrative. All right, these are the things that help you achieve your destiny, all the self-improvement stuff, your Pomodoro technique and the 80-20 principle, and cold showers and meditation and working out and diet and all of that stuff. Those are the, gaining your weapons and your spells and your party members and all of that stuff. Your shouts, which is really cool, like Skyrim, the shouts, the words of power, translate to something in real life. Really cool. I'd love to show you. So yeah, that's what that works. You get good at gameplay. You actually use all your self-improvement strategies, and you find out which ones work for you, which ones align with your destiny. You don't have to do them all. When you play a game, you don't have to be, the stealth archer and the barbarian and the wizard. Like, you can just pick one. You can just choose one or two, or you can cycle between them over the course of your life, or choose two at a time and then do one and then do three, then do one, and then, whatever. It's up to you. You get to decide how you build your character. You don't have to do them all at once forever. It's like, that's way too much. So, the last step is living life well. When you are a worthy individual, which you are, so when you realize you are a worthy individual who has a strongly emotional drive to fulfill his destiny, and you have the knowledge and abilities and party members to achieve that, and you have faith in the Game Master to guide you along your destiny, you lose fear and replace it with faith. Then you no longer procrastinate, and you are unstoppable. And that is the road of escapism and the road out. According to me, as just a young kid who doesn't really know anything because I don't have a whole lot of life experience. But this is my 2 cents, or maybe 3 if you're feeling generous. By the way, speaking of cents, please give me money. Patreon link down in the description. I would really like to get a lot of money because, well, my job kind of stinks right now. So if you can give me some money, if I'm providing any value to you at all, that would be great. Also, eventually, there's going to be a Discord channel, server, where people who actually want to throw off their old life and say, okay, I'm going through Slave, I'm doing I'm gonna roleplay who I actually want to be, I'm gonna play the bloody metagame. If you want to, then there will eventually be a Discord server you can join and, have other people there that want to do it, and I can be your big game master. Like, God is the game master of the whole world, but I can be your game master and, help you along, guide you. I can be like the developer for your game. You want to play the game? I'm the developer who makes it for you. And of course, we get to do it together, and it's not going to be my full-time job or anything, but that's going to be like tied to Patreon. You pay me, and the more you pay me, the more time I'll spend on you actually helping you design your game. And again, that's not something like, I'm going to pay this guy to help me with my life forever. It's like, no, it's going to be a few months or a year if you really need a lot of help. But, and then it'll be done, it'll end, and I'll move to someone else, and you'll move on. You'll have this great life that you can live, and you go out and live it, and good for you. But yeah, love to make some money actually doing this. This is my purpose right now, is to help you, because you guys are basically just adult kids. Like, I want to help heal the wounds of the youth. These poor kids have been so hurt. Well, guess what? If you're 30, you're watching this video, you have the problems that have been mentioned. Well, then you're still just that kid who's been hurt. So I still want to heal your wounds. Even though your body is 30, you're still that wounded kid. I still want to help the wounded kid. So this is my destiny right now. Maybe eventually one day I'll actually help kids, but for now, it's you. And so, yeah, if I can actually make a living, or at least supplemental income, doing my actual purpose, then that would be great. So Patreon money, please throw thousands of dollars my way. It'd be nice to make about $1 million a year doing this. So maybe next week, you never know. Thank you for watching. Feed the algorithm, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, because the algorithm has very poor diet, and it really needs some nice feeding. So be nice to the algorithm. Feed them meat, no pasta, no synthetic wheat, no seed oil, and no bloody sugar. We want the algorithm to be nice and healthy. You feed them steak, red meat with plenty of salt, real salt, put some real salt on it. Feed them liver and some fermented foods. Like, try some high liver, high meat. It's really cool. Besides that, don't stay tuned, because that's a terrible waste of your time. Stop binging content. And come watch my stuff later. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, you are worthy.